Welcome back on the AM show, and here we are continuing with our big stories. And of course, we can talk about power. The power situation nowadays, a bit erratic. Just yesterday, in fact, over the last few days, I have actually had power outages at a point here and there. Only yesterday, someone also spoke to me about their power going off, but being expectant. The light did come on. But the bit is what exactly is going on? What is our energy situation right now? What can we expect moving forward? Well, joining us for a conversation on that all-important beat, we have the man who's been chosen to be the MPP's lead on the Manifesto committee as far as energy is concerned. He's a man I've been discoursing with from way back, even before we met here one more time. Kwadwo Poku.
My brother. It's great to actually talk and shake hands. Me and you will be waving at each other on Zoom for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But I think we should do this one face to face.
We should do this more.
Yes, every now and then we should mix it up instead of doing just the Zoom.
It depends on your availability, because me, I'll be here. But it's your availability.
The early morning wake up.
It's your
nice to be in the studio.
It's good to have you join the conversation.
Thank you, my brother.
But I'll start off with this question, basically, since we're talking energy and all of that. Give us a snapshot of the image you see when you contemplate Ghana in terms of energy today.
Ghana in terms of energy, I would say stable, a lot of work to be done. The challenge in the system is a lot of localized problems in terms of aging infrastructure, and in terms of having the right response to challenges when it does arise. So one of the things in the last couple of weeks I had, because Kumasi gets a lot of outages recently, and people there were very upset and complaining that, look, is it Dumsor? So I went to Mr. Mohamed Dubik and said, look, my brother, we can't be doing this. What's going on? And he said, look, it's a high tension problem. It's a high voltage problem in the area, and some of their lines in the peak hours snaps. So he has engineers on standby responding to these problems as and when they occur in the localities.
You speak of that, and I'm sorry, yesterday nights, I go somewhere and I see, those when the sparks. I don't know whether it had anything to do with touching, because that's why we say touch it, yes. Or maybe the current flowing through. Yes. Because nowadays you get a lot of fluctuations. You can see something, you can tell even from looking at the light bulb that things have spiked.
Yes. So there is that problem. And for me, the problem, look, it's mechanical, it's engineering. Problem will occur. The other side of the conversation is that when the problem occurs, how quickly is it attended to and rectified? So for me, that's where the challenge is, and that's where we are keeping a lot of emphasis on ECG, to have a quick response time to make sure that they serve Ghanaians better. So that is where, for me, like I said, when I had a conversation with Mr. Dubik, one of the things he said that, look, in some areas, there's been a very fast pace of development in those areas. And then the transformers that they have in those areas, thinking that, it will last for 2-3 years before it needs upgrading or doing an insertion. Now, in less than 1 year, those transformers are full and over capacity. So there's a lot of strain on their budget and also on their personnel. But look, it's their work, and we are tasking them to do better.
Because it also means you're not keeping your eye on the ball.
Exactly.
You make estimates,
yes.
But if things are going beyond the estimates, you should be able to know as someone who is in the industry. It's like business.
Yes, it's true.
So you've planned that you're going to spend 5 million on R&D, research and development. All of a sudden you realize that something has cropped up. Your competitor is doing something. It's like, what's that new company? I've forgotten the name. The one that is competing with Tesla when it comes to electric in the US.
Yes, in the US.
It's an American company. Right. You get it. You see certain things. Right. You didn't expect this. This has come in.
Move up.
What do? You don't sit there and say, while I acknowledge problems.
The other thing that's causing the problem is the town and country planning and people actually going for building permits.
Right.
In the past, the town and country, the municipalities were a good place for data in terms of how many people have collected permits to build. Most people don't collect permits these days to build, and that is where the municipality should be up and running. So the local government should work well, and those are the areas that I think they are having conversations with local government minister and also the DC and MFC. So look, guys, do to help us. You can't just show up in one day and there's an area where in less than 6 months you are saying that, look, we need an extra transformer because the transformer put there is not really, is overloaded. How did it get there? It means that there's suppressed demand. There were people who were building that we didn't know about, and all of a sudden they are building. So look, that is just by the way. The most important thing is that we don't have Dumsor, and I can't emphasize that enough. We have enough capacity installed in the country, and the challenges is localized. Everybody might have their own problem where it is, but the most important thing is that do call the electricity customer service line. You call that line, they will try to get engineers to you as soon as possible.
What I will say is that there have been occasions when I have called, they are pretty professional, and sometimes they don't know. And I like the fact that they'll tell you, at this point on this, we don't know what is happening. And sometimes they'll tell you, oh, there's something going on. And it may not necessarily be a perfect system.
Yes.
But I acknowledge that on those fronts, and friends also. In fact, it's because a friend way back reached out and said, oh, when you call the line, they actually, so at least you can give them their props on that. But I have an interesting question for you. What is Dumsor?
Okay, so Dumsor in our parlance is the stage where we don't have enough capacity.
Okay, so let me put it this way. Don't give us our parlance. What do you understand?
Okay,
what do you understand?
My understanding is when we are shedding load. Is when, let's say, in the peak hours, we need 2,000 megawatts. The available load is 1,600 megawatts. So there's 400 deficit. So that 400 deficit, you have to switch off some area and give power to some area. When the peak comes down, maybe mostly after midnight, then you can bring back on, basically everybody goes down and the rest of the country can have light. But during your peak, you don't have enough capacity. You have to give some areas and load shed some areas. That is what I call Dumsor.
Within the last 2 years, have we had Dumsor or not?
No. The only time we've had that is when we've had gas problems.
I was interested in the no until you added that.
No, as in, you see, there are two challenges.
Right.
There is the capacity problem and there's the fuel problem. The fuel problem is when we don't have enough gas, though the capacity is there. But if you don't have gas to power the capacity, then obviously...
And why is that? Sometimes you owe WAPCO and you're not doing the right thing.
Well, that's fine, yes. You owe WAPCO will cut it out because when WAPCO sends emails to GMPC, they don't respond enough. GMPC will tell you, oh, we've sent letters to ECG, they've not paid that. So yes, that payment challenges is in the system. And when that arises, yes, you do have instances where the shutdown of... recently, look, there was a trip in Tema. And it caused about 60% of the gas availability in the Tema area to shut down. So SemPower, Asogli, and all those companies have to go down. And there was load shedding. And in that case, you can call it Dumsor. But in the last 2 years, anytime it has happened, it has been a temporary nature because of one problem or the other. But Ben,
we also accept that it has also happened at certain points because government has simply not had the money on hand available to make certain payments. And I'm wading slightly into the IPPs, apart from the WAPCO and the rest. But you do realize it's also happened because we've simply not been able to meet our bills.
I wouldn't say government. I would just say that is a matter of ECG with a cash water for how much goes in there. There is what you call the historic data, which is the debt that existed from long time ago that has been there, that everybody is aware of. But going forward, the problem is that ECG has really increased their collection. Right before they were doing something like 400 million Ghana cedis. Now they are doing between 1 million and 1.2 billion Ghana cedis a month, right? So collection has improved. The only thing is that as we grow as a nation, now you need to now try to bring on board more capacity if necessary, and also be able to now meet the legacy debt at the same time pay your incoming bill. But Ben, let me make a very important point. There is this conversation on social media, which there is a write-up that the NDC propaganda has put out there that within the last 7 years, the Nana Addo Bawumia administration has added 0 megawatts to the power. Look, it's not true. And I want to make this emphatic on your program that the conversation is that government is continuous. at any point in time, somebody will start a conversation on an infrastructure, probably sign the agreement for the infrastructure, but the actual infrastructure coming online and being put in place is probably taking 4, 5, 6, 7 years, so it will come on in somebody's administration.
Right.
You cannot say that from 2017 till now, no megawatts have been added to the grid.
Which ones have been added? Clarify.
Okay, so let me clarify what has been added in the last 7 years. You remember AXA? AXA was on and ongoing.
Was it not a spillover?
No, AXA is an HFO plant that is in the Pong area. The PPA was signed, but it was signed for 5 years. But at the latter stage,
signed by whom?
Signed by the Mahama administration.
Exactly. That's why I was saying, was it not a spillover?
What do you mean spillover?
Spillover, like, as in one started, it's
yes, but most projects in Ghana are like that.
Right.
So you
no, I was just asking for clarity.
All of them, all the ones I'm going to tell you about are ones that have been signed in the past. But my point is that if somebody make a statement that no megawatt have been added to the grid since 2017, it's erroneous.
Okay, so what if the person said that no such agreement has been signed, adding a single megawatt of whatever?
So are we saying that no PPAs have been signed?
I'm just saying.
Or are we saying no power has been added to the grid?
Let me land.
Okay.
I'm saying if the person were to couch it as no such agreement, contractual agreement has been brought to bear by this administration, which has led to the adding of power, would the person be correct?
No, because there has been PPA signed in the last 7 years. There's been actually about 800 megawatts of PPA signed in the last 7 years. So it's still not zero, right? View Power also added.
How many of those 800 megawatts have we added to our grid?
None of that have been added to the grid.
None.
Yes.
So zero. It is zero.
There is zero. What the PPA signed and added is zero because, Ben, it takes about 6 to 7 years to build a plant. So the point I'm making is that somebody will start the conversation and sign the agreement, but somebody will have to aid it. I'll give a typical example. Early Power. Early Power was signed in 2013. As I speak to you now, Early Power has not gone to commercial date of commencement. It's still not operational. And Early Power was signed in 2013. They thought Early Power would come on earlier, but they are having problems. Early Power was signed to be on LPG.
Right.
But when they started doing test runs, Early Power has problem. As I speak to you now, Early Power still hasn't gotten COD. So the point is, you can sign something, but might not get to the commercial date of completion or commencement on your watch, and somebody will now help to bring it on board. And AXA, I brought AXA because it's interesting. AXA was signed for 5 years by the NDC under His Excellency John Mahama, right? But then, in the latter stage of the conversation during 2017, 2018, guess what? There were some guarantees that were supposed to be in place. Those guarantees, because the NDC government, when they signed the PPA for 5 years, did not make arrangement for that. The MPP administration under the His Excellency Kwadwo Poku has to now make some concessions with the company so that now the PPA for AXA was 7 years, not 5 years. So it tells you that you can sign something, but there's a lot that somebody who is in government does to now what? Bring it into fruition. And that is where I want to now put this conversation to rest. Let not anybody say that nothing has been added to the grid in the last 7 years, because there has been 1,746.
So agreements from the past have been moved into the future, and some other agreements have been
signed now.
Signed, yes, entered into,
and will come on in the future.
But not even a single megawatt has been contributed to our electricity grid or power supply.
It is you sign an agreement.
I'm saying those agreements. But
those
you just confirmed.
I agree that those have been signed, have not come into operation.
Right.
Not now. It will probably come in somebody else's administration.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that let's make it clear that in the last 7 years, from 2017 to date, 1,746 megawatts have been added to the grid.
Right.
Be it the PPAs were signed before.
Let's get into some basics. There was a reason I asked you what exactly is Dumsor. The ordinary person out there, for me, I do get that the first time, in fact, if we want to talk about Dumsor, we go as far back as Rawlings.
Yes.
Then we come to a more prevalent situation in Kwadwo, but not as bad as we saw under Mahama.
Yes.
All of that is Dumsor.
Right.
And of course, under Mahama, you had a lot more. I mean, it could be off for 12 hours, it could be off for more. And then sometimes it was difficult. And then you actually needed a timetable and you would get that.
Yes.
But Dum Nesono, NSA, you Dum and Yaso.
Yes.
That's the technical, I mean, I don't know why we try to, a lot of the time. But Rock Bafo says Dumsor is a Twi word, so let him define it in Twi. and let's see whether there is Dumsor or not. But this one says, just to reflect what we've been talking about, Benjamin, please kindly let Mr. Poku, I don't know, he says Dr. Poku, have you become...
No, I'm not, please, okay, I don't have...
So clarity
I'm
there.
Kwadwo Poku.
I would have been surprised that you had got a PhD and you had not told me. Mr. Poku, understand that Accra Newtown has been experiencing light off every day. I mean, every day. They turn off our light every day and it's worrying. They brought back our power yesterday around 2 p.m. when we went off for nearly 22 hours. It's very worrying. And I know people along that stretch. Accra, Newtown, Pig Farm, okay. Mamobi, Nima, okay. That enclave, okay. You know, and a lot of them, I go into these places. Right. I was there yesterday. Right. So I know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'll take it up with Bismarck, who's the regional manager for Greater Accra ECG. I'll take it up with him and I'll give you the feedback so you can give it to the gentleman. Right.
Let's come briefly to this committee that has been set up. I mean, we'll get into the national issues as we look at the committee right. And your work in there. But let me ask you, some have posited. I've heard people in certain circles say, oh, Kwadwo Poku. I mean, this is exactly what he wanted. Mission accomplished. He put himself up for the presidency, knowing very well that he wouldn't make any inroads anyway. And that, you know, this was what he wanted. He knew Bawumia would win. Position yourself with Bawumia. And now he's getting in there. Energy sector. This is what you wanted. Is that correct? Immediately, not too long after the presidential primary, I saw you in that elegant photo with Bawumia shaking hands and all of that. Some say, Afa.
Sure.
Afa now.
Sure.
And which one is it?
Okay, so let me tell you what I have always said from the beginning. Look, right. Kwadwo Poku has been a member of civil society for so many years. I've been a very champion of the energy sector for over 12 years. I've been working in this sector since 2021, so 23 years. Now, one of the things that I said when I got into the presidential race was that I've been in a popular stand and I've been shouting and nobody's hearing. So I want to now come onto the field of play and basically take the jersey and play myself. And that is why I ran for the presidency. I had ideas that I think will transform the good people of Ghana's life. And I believe that election is about ideas. Now, when I got into it, I went into, and most of the things I spoke about in my presidential campaign, I didn't talk about energy. I spoke about other areas. We're able to have an in-depth of what I know and what I want to do in this country. Then I believe that if you want to make change, instead of sitting out and basically shouting, if you sit at the table and shout, you'll be heard better. So yes, I intended to basically get involved, take a sword and stand a post and be counted. And that is what is happening.
So there is some truth to that as
well. There's that truth.
You wanted a seat at the table,
yes,
and now you've got it.
Yes, to make a change.
Right.
To make a change. Not the cynical way of people thought about it, but it's to make a change. And that change today, Dr. Bawumia, His Excellency, has now said that, look, Kwadwo, you are the one that talks about energy. In fact, civil society, you guys are the one, anytime there's a manifesto, you sit, dissect it, and basically, if it's not good enough, say that it's not good enough. Come sit at the head of that table and give me the best that I can run with. And I applaud him for that. Because under my leadership in that committee, you will see the wonderful work that we will come up with. Because for nothing at all, my knowledge in the energy sector, it's not that I went to school and sat in a class and got a PhD or got a degree. No, it's practical. I have worked as Gas Up Oil CEO since 2021. So I have an in-depth practical experience of the upstream. I formed Small Hydro Development Company Limited in 2012 when we were having the light challenges to develop the Ankobra River, okay, to build a small hydro dam. And I've been doing that since then. So the problems that I know the business aspect of it, where it's not working. I know the practical challenges that people are having when they are trying to do business in the energy sector. And that is what I bring to bear. And not only my knowledge, we're going to do a wider consultation. If you look on the committee, I have a very wonderful team that
I was just about to go there.
Right. And we will do consultation. We will meet people.
Who are the members of the committee?
The committee have... I know it has Edwin, Professor from Bost. Yes. It has VRA, the VRA MD. It has, if you give me a minute, I'll pull it up for you. But the most important thing in this whole conversation is that we have a team of people that we know can put heads together and come up with a message that will resonate with Ghanaians. And that's the most important thing. The most important thing that Ghanaians will be looking out for is how do we now have a message? And most of the times, whenever I have looked at, when I've looked at these manifestos, I think there's too much English. Okay, but this manifesto, for once, that I'm going to basically help bring out, is going to have policies that you and I, anybody on the street, can relate with.
And I'm looking at the members now because
yes, Hamid,
the MPA
Mustafa,
boss.
Yes, MPA boss Mustafa Hamid, Dr. Mustafa Hamid, Imalan Enchudankwa VRA, Edwin Professor boss, Dr. KD Asante, Ghana Gas, Miss Portia Ousua Obing, Hamida Nuhu, Professor Apiedu, Special Assistant to the Vice President, Kwesi Sapon, one of the clean gas advocates in the country, Mustafa Hamid, I'm told, is at Petroleum Commission.
So that's a different Mustafa Hamid,
yes,
and the spelling Mustafa, is even different.
Yes, right? He's at Petroleum Commission.
Ejapa
Mensah, just recent, now made minister, has served as on the board of Ghana Gas, was minister for the last 3 years. So in the energy sector, Robert Forson, Steve Kwako, and the advisor to the committee is Matthew Poku, my brother Napo. So you know that, look, and we're going to do extensive engagement with civil society, the chambers in the various institutions, and then most of the institutions that we don't have membership here. We're going to call them and basically listen to what they think it should be and what is not, in the way forward.
Right. So these are the people who are going to basically shape policy when it comes to energy matters for the Bawumia campaign. I have a quick question, though. You would realize that, I mean, we've heard of sports, and then you have Asamoah Gyan in there, and others say, well, why are they getting political? I've seen the likes of Ochiame Kwame, then I saw a statement that, no, I've not been. I saw another person come up with that. On that point, before we get back to energy, do you think people are getting it right, the communications? Because if I'm not aware of something and you go and put my name somewhere and then I have to come out and say that, no, you've not told me anything, I've not. What do you think of that? Briefly,
well, I think it's unfortunate that a simple conversation with that person will not happen before the person's name got in there. But again, when your name is on there, look, yes, be it is for a political party, it's a way to also shape policy in any aspect. Look, our manifestos, be it NDC or MPP, is a document that is a living document. And it's there for anybody to basically look at and say, look, this is where we want to take Ghana to. So if you have opportunity to contribute towards that, I think it's a good thing. The Asamoah Gyan issue is very exciting. Let's not look at Asamoah Gyan as a footballer. He's an athlete. Footballers are athletes. He has been an athlete from a very early age to the point where he's played in a lot of countries as an athlete. He has in-depth knowledge to bring to bear in our sports field. Most people say that, look, sports is not just about football. Everybody knows that. But the point is that, isn't that the problem, that we need a lot of athletes in the country, be it a tennis player, a footballer, or tracks and field? Okay, so if he's going to chair, and he has a very array of people to help him make that decision, but he will bring to bear on that committee his experience in like 4 different continents.
I think for Asamoah Gyan and the likes of any, but I feel it's not a fight that anyone could win, really. But I feel some people, you take your mind back to 2014 and even before and everything that happened. And people have always said that some people are seen to have pitched camp, NDC side, MPP side, even in the national team. And so that is what people are sponging off and saying, okay, he's been political anyway, which is where the problem is, because in those areas, you're not expected to be political. But as far as what he's doing is concerned, it's his choice and decision to move on. But so we've addressed some of the challenges of the power sector, but the core challenge is financial.
Yes.
Money.
Yes, money.
Yenisika.
Yenisika.
Ekasi yetisika so sika no. Sikana sorry. Ekodru chanta.
That's what. Yetisika so you're sorry and you akoya so no ye huiska.
So what will your manifesto do to address those challenges? Look at the albatross hanging around our neck with the IPPs. How will we resolve?
Okay, so I have always said that most of the financial situation we got in as a country today, if you look at the manifesto, the road shows, the info memos that we did from 2010 to date, we didn't say that we're going to collect taxes to pay all the bonds that we borrowed. One of the things that we said was that we have found oil and we are going to produce oil in commercial quantities, give us money, and in 10 years, our economy would have grown so much and we will be able to pay the money that we are going to borrow. So most of these Euro bond markets, Ghana went into it because of our oil find. But in the last 10 years to 12 years, since first oil in 2011, really, we have not gone to where we are supposed to get to in terms of our oil find. And we have a lot of potential. We're very prolific in some fields. Okay, now some of the...
Which ones? Jubilee?
Well, Jubilee is there, but the Tano Basin has some potentials where if concentration is given, the Tano Basin will give us maybe about 50 to 860 megawatts, 50 to 60,000 barrels per day. Then you have some works that the Jubilee partners and the ENI Vitol could do. Then there was these 4 blocks that we did the tender in 2018, if you remember, the first tender that we did for companies like First, EMP, Vitol came and bidded for, and that never came into fruition because there was a problem with the negotiation. So we do have some, what's the word I'm looking for? We have some potentials where if a lot of effort and the politics is taken out of it and it's purely commercial transaction, right? We can add another 150,000 to 200,000 barrels in the next 2 years. And imagine what that would do to the country. Today, we are doing about 120,000 barrels a day. And look at the benefits that we get. If we can add even 100,000 barrels in the next 2 years, it will solve immensely most of our problems. And for me, we need to look at what has gone wrong in our upstream. How come we had a very good start, but along the line, we lost our way, and to now, the upstream is dead. So my concentration, and that is where, like I said, I bring 23 years of experience. And I've spoken to a lot of people in that industry, and there's a lot of changes that needs to be done. Again, how does that thriving upstream industry, how does that benefit the average Ghanaian? How many Ghanaians have actually made a lot of money from that local government thing that we talk about? Oh, sorry, the local partnership, indigenous Ghanaians that have done anything in terms of the Ghanaian partnership that we talk about, the JVs and all that. So we've
Ghanaians owning
the Ghanaians owning, yes,
and making the most
all
of
that,
it,
and also
creating, because like China, you want to spawn millionaires and billionaires from the system.
Yes,
and so they also impact the economy.
Very much so. So the local content has not worked well. So yes, if we're going to get a booming, we're going to basically revigor the upstream. One of the areas is the local content. How is a rejuvenated upstream benefits the Ghanaian, the youth? Right. And those are some of the areas that I want to pay a lot of attention to.
I want us to look at quick issues. I'll lump them together because they are all together when it comes to the oil sector. One, Sentuo, makes no sense to me. And we've had discussions.
Yes, 100%.
You know exactly why.
Yes.
We're killing Tor to set up Sentuo and literally picking stuff from Tor and aiding Sentuo when this is by and large. People will say 1D, 1F. I think that's hogwash. But I want to know what your thought is. Then 2, roping these two together. Oil royalties and the chicken change, the paltry sums we keep getting. How will your manifesto address that? And finally, tied to that, the APFA and how we keep funds that sometimes we mean to, per the law, per the strictures of oil funds and what they ought to be used for, not just the APFA. We are not using them for that and employing them in other avenues. I think you get...
I get that.
So Sentuo,
yes.
And then oil revenue in terms of the royalties, the measly sums we're getting, and
so
taking them
look,
out.
I wouldn't think that anybody will say that we are intentionally killing Tor to prop up Sentuo. Sentuo is a private investment, so that investment would have come on.
Is Tor dead or not?
Tor is dead. Okay. For now, as we speak, Tor is dead. Right. Some of us have been fighting for Tor. We've been advocates of Tor staff. And recently, I made a statement on one of the stations, and the Tor staff are not happy at all. And yes, I, Kwadwo Poku, have always said that when it comes to my energy conversations, I don't play politics. My statement was that as we speak now, there was a transaction on the table, Torenco, which the management and the board were looking at. The Tor staff, the unions that didn't have anything to do, brought up all sort of conversations, going to Attorney General, went to the Special Prosecutor, got it all muddied. The company has walked away. Okay, so now the Torenco partners said, look, we are no longer interested in this transaction. We've walked away. The board chairman has resigned. Okay, because he feels that, look, it's something that he wants to work on. Unions who doesn't understand what is going on in the boardroom keep basically making petitions to go into the press, and is even making allegations of corruption against the board members. So look, he doesn't want to be tainted with these things. He's walked away. As we speak now, there is no transaction on the table for Tor. Tor themselves, when they were asked to put up a 2024 document for operational of Tor, they admitted that even if they run with all the auxiliary businesses working, they will make some losses. One of the things that Tema Oil refinery workers had to understand, and they keep going back to the KK Sapon era and all that, in those 8 times, government was propping up Tor. In the KK Sapon era, government was basically footing the bill for the operations of Tor. Today, this government doesn't want to do that anymore. So what do we need? We need a private initiative, private sector-led initiative without government guarantees, without anything, purely business transaction for toll. Do we have that now? We don't. But the conversation has to be ongoing to see how we get toll back, because we cannot close it down. I made a statement that, look, if nothing is happening there, the workers should be sent home. But look, that statement, I'll walk it back and say that, look, we should be downsizing at the refinery because, look, not much is happening there. The second conversation that you asked is what you
royalties.
Call royalties. And look, government is not supposed to be relying just on royalties when it comes to upstream. It's just a revenue, okay? It's one of the revenue streams that you get. Your interest is to basically get to the commercial production so that you make a lot of money from the actual production of the crude oil.
We've not got there.
We've not got there. So that's where I'm saying that one of the concentrations I have, and one of the things that will solve all and most of our problems, is if we have to increase our production upstream. And that is what I want to lead this team to look at and do. So let's not look at, this poultry sum we are getting from royalties. Yes, but one of the things that we've done in Ghana to shoot ourselves in the foot also is that post-2011, when we found oil, we basically made our laws unattractive. And in the era of energy transition, the conversation in the boardroom has changed. So in 2010, the conversation in the boardroom, going out briskly looking for oil transactions to do, now boardrooms are no longer looking at it that way. Oil energy transition has come into the boardroom decision. So we need to think with energy transition in mind. The conversation that we had in 2010 didn't have energy transition. In 2024, all conversations, you have to have energy transition at the back of your mind. So we need to look at our laws that we've done in the last 10 years and retweak it with energy transition.
When you talk of energy transition, we'll go back to the APFA, but because you brought it up, you're thinking solar and other things.
No, it's not. It's the transition. No, it's not. No, it's a transition from, okay, look, so the world has to commit to the global warming. You have to, the climate change, okay? Now, if you're producing fossil fuel, it's seen as dirty fuel, which has carbon. Oh,
you are talking, yeah, but that also feeds into that.
Yes, it does. But my point is, you need to now the drive, the push, the spend, the dollar spend. It's not that easy to now produce because you need to go and borrow. A lot of these investment banks are no longer in a hurry to lend money to companies to do oil exploration. Okay, so that is the energy transition part that we need to look at. Is fossil fuel going to be around for the next 50 years, 100 years? Yes. We're going to have diesel and petrol.
We're going to rely on them for
a very long time to come. Yesterday, there was a conversation that was very interesting. Somebody said, look, cities in Europe and America begin to push back on EVs. Guess what? Some people are trying to develop truck EVs. And I said, now look, guys are crazy. To do 30 trucks of EVs would now mean about 6 megawatts of electricity consumption. And cities don't have that power. So we might use EVs for smaller cars and maybe mid-sized saloon cars. But when it comes to big trucks and forklifts, payloaders who are hauling big, heavy loads, we might well...
It's clear we're not making that transition anytime soon. Let's focus on solar.
Yes.
It's one of the things we've been blessed with. You know, 24/7, practically across the best parts of the year. Even in the rainy season, you will have a lot of this. And I look at our northern brothers in Africa. I think Algeria has the biggest in the world solar farm or something of the sort, if memory serves. But especially the northern belt, they've taken advantage of that. In Ghana, we have seen, not just up north, but all the way down south. What is the plan in your manifesto? How will you tackle it?
Yes, one of the flagship conversations that the Vice President had in his policy document, he mentioned solar, right? And when he said, look, this is not the manifesto, this is my policy. We are going to take the lead of what the Vice President have said and look at solar because he wants to have about 2,000 megawatts of solar. But in my expert opinion, solar shouldn't be seen as in-grid. Solar should be seen as off-grid solution, embedded solution, okay? Energy Commission started something. They were trying, if you want to put solar panels on your roof, they would support you with some panels and stuff like that. We need a lot of consultants and experts in the country who can easily give advice to households. Because today, if you're a household and you want to do solar, who do you contact? Who do you consult? Who talks to you? Okay, we don't have readily available consultant experts who are going around.
I would know because of my work and I could guide someone. In fact, I have done that, but you're completely correct. The ordinary Joe out there wouldn't know.
Wouldn't know. It's
how to go about it.
Go about it. And it's difficult getting that information. How do I get that? And now there's net metering. Okay, net metering helps you to invest in solar and be able to supply your neighbor with the excess electricity that you have, and ECG will basically give you credit for it. So all these policies are out there, but one of the things that we want to look at is one, solar for embedded generation, not in-grid generation, because of the losses we have in our transmission. It doesn't make sense to do a 50 megawatts and put it on the grid, because you are losing about 27% of what you are put on the grid. So in Europe, wind and all these are embedded, okay, not in grid. So you go to a village and you realize that in that village they have solar. Okay, you go to a community and they have solar. So that is the way to go. And this 2,000 that the vice president wants to achieve, we will help him put policies in place to achieve that. But looking at it as embedded generation, not on-grid generation.
I like the fact that you said you would help to put policy down to it. And two things come to mind. One, well, while solar panels and the rest have fallen from the highs that they rose to about 5 years ago, they've fallen quite a bit, but they are still very expensive. How are you going to bankroll this? You're in an IMF, program, 2,000 megawatts of power, solar panels. Have you put pen to paper on the cost of this and how you are going to fund it?
So basically in Europe it's quite cheap. But in Ghana, it's expensive. Why is that? Because there's taxes, there's this, there's the at the port and all that. What the policy
I'm tempted to ask you now who costs?
I know. So one of the policy, in the policy document, the vice president also again said that he wants to look at tax reliefs for importation and, if possible, give some reliefs to companies that will assemble some of these panels in Ghana, create employment and basically help the youth also get it. But one of the things that I will probably do a giveaway, one of the things I want to propose is a partnership between Energy Commission and KNUST. Okay, KNUST has a very wide, brilliant electrical engineers. Okay, why don't basically Energy Commission basically team up with the electrical department in KNUST to bring out engineers who come out, electrical engineers who can go around and advising people on how the benefits and how to go about. When we talk about solar, it might not be for everybody. Look,
no, it definitely isn't. Not even in other developed parts of the world.
So
it's not for everybody.
That's where I come with cost. I mean, if somebody lives and can afford it, they will do. But now, even if I can afford it, who do I talk to? Okay, and what solution is best for?
But we could start, for example, imagine all ministries, agencies, and all of that.
Yes.
Solar, 100% solar.
100% solar. Yes.
Do you know that is an advertisement on its own?
Yes.
Because you go there, but you guys, we're on solar. But already everybody coming there is getting excited.
We tried it,
and
that goes back to the consultancy level that I talked about. We tried that, and I think it was started either John's time or His Excellency Nado's time, when the policy was that all ministries has to be on solar. But the point is, who does the consultancy? Who does the consultancy? Now, if you ask the ministries, what is your demand? How many megawatts would you need? And bear in mind, one of the things that the options that I talk about in solar is that, do you need a mist bag? Okay, if you might not need the batteries, where during the day you use the solar and at night you switch to ECG. So that means you don't have to store.
So you don't have to store.
Exactly. So the cost is less, because most of the cost of solar is with the batteries. Okay. So if you're going to use solar during the day when the light is on, and in the night when the light is off and you don't have enough, just switch off to ECG. So you have a hybrid solution. Or somebody might want a full solution of basically just solar, buy the batteries, and basically be able to now use the stored power overnight and switch it back again.
But quickly to my question, how much do you think this is going to cost?
I cannot sit here and give you a costing, because I have not costed myself. The only thing that I will say is that reason the solar on large scale is not good for Ghana is that it takes a lot of land space, and you'll be competing with agric land and solar panels.
Right.
That is why you use the surface of the water and stuff like that. The land mass that you need to do huge solar panel will compete with other. Ghana is not big. It's not that big. We are big, but not that big. And we need the arable land for farming. So that's why I'm trying to shy away from huge solar pumps.
I have a few things I want to, discuss with you in the next 15 minutes. We have to go, but I don't want to forget. I want to take you back to the oil. Some say it's even a resource curse, Dutch disease, but APFA and the misuse sometimes. I just want you to address, because we're addressing it and then the other things came in. So just take a quick look at that.
Look, it's unfortunate that the Ministry of Finance does that. Very unfortunate. You have the Petroleum Holding Fund,
right,
which the money goes in. And from there, the law is very clear where everything should go. Today, local governments also get the Common Fund, get some money from that Petroleum Holding Fund as well. But like you said, misappropriation of money, where it's supposed to go, it doesn't go. I think it should stop. Under the leadership of the Vice President, who understands some of these things because he's been an apprentice for the last 8 years, we would
Please use a proper term. He's been a mate to a driver.
Now you talk him.
The Vice President himself has been.
Yeah, but I'm using apprentice.
He was doing apprentice.
Isn't a mate an apprentice?
Please, the proper term.
No, isn't a mate.
Send your man for the apprentice in any day.
I will not call my
apprentice
brother.
in any day.
I will not call my brother. I will not call my brother who I look up to a mate. He's an apprentice to a government and he's learned so much.
By the way, Kwame Pianim feels that analogy was not right. You know Kwame Pianim?
Which is what? I know him very well.
He says, I shared an interaction with him.
He said what? The mate analogy?
The mate analogy was not apt.
Is the spare driver one better?
Whichever one. Anyway, back to the point.
So we need to basically look at that. And like I said, under the leadership of the Vice President, look, most people keep thinking that, what is he going to offer again because he's there for 8 years. We don't run a co-presidency in Ghana. He's a Vice President and he's basically serving under the honor of the President. The President makes the decisions. He will come in his 8 years and make all the right decisions.
So if I understand you correctly, Nanado, poignantly, Monsomenshe, now it's Baumia, Yensonishe, right? I mean, that's
yes,
what...
definitely. Yensonishe, and this is the guy with all the right bells and whistles, and we should definitely give him the chance.
Right. Let's talk about the Pwalugu multipurpose dam.
Yes.
It's been on the books for forever.
Yes.
1 billion, almost 1 billion. The last time I looked, almost $1 billion. And what it was meant to do sounded so exciting.
Yes.
But
I took
one block.
Yes, I took that document. And you see, I keep telling people that my name is not called Oracle my name is called Oracle for a reason. I can look through certain things and say it's not going to happen. The Pwalugu Dam, as passed by Parliament, I told them it wasn't going to happen. The same thing I told them PDS will not last 1 year. Have you seen the agreement Parliament passed on Pwalugu?
I've seen some of it.
Thank you. See, the one big document. Go and read through it. Government was to fund a certain part of it in terms of they've made budget allocation for the feasibility.
That point is...
Right, the feasibility and blah, 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 blah. And the Chinese, I'm asking myself, what were they doing? The problem we have is these big, huge investment that government takes on. You don't have the money. And if you listen to the Vice President's speech, what he said he will bring on board what? Private sector-led initiative to develop Pwalugu. And that is how we should have gone. It should have never been a Ministry of Finance taking on certain budgetary allocation to basically try and push Pwalugu. It's a very vital project, but the approach to what we now took to develop it was wrong. And that is why the Vice President is saying that he's going to basically look at it again under a private sector-led initiative.
So what's the plan?
The plan for me, I don't have the details in my head to tell you, but I think as somebody who sits as a chairman of an investment bank, I can tell you that you need to basically account for every dollar spent. If you're going to basically do that project, you need to start off from who are the beneficiaries of this project. How is it going to rake in the necessary dollar? It's not a social, it can be classed in a way as a social intervention project, right? But it needs to also generate money. So how can it generate revenue? And if it can generate revenue, then you can now have an offtake who will now bring in the money if this project is spent. And when that does, then you can now go to the market and say, look, who will finance this project? Because I have an off-taker, these are the revenues, please help me finance it, and these are the benefits. If you do not do that and set it clearly, government doesn't have the money. Government has to compete with roads, education, health, and all these things, and Pwalugu Dam will come down in terms of the scale of preference. So I think that you should look at it as in, who are the beneficiaries? Stream of revenues. How are you going to make money out of it? If you're going to make money out of it, who are the beneficiaries? Who will take up these Pwalugu Dam? Because it's in two phases. One is to basically try and dam it to what's the word that I'm looking for? Agriculture, so that we create the backwater can be used for agriculture. But at the same time, there are other, it's like a mixed use with the Pwalugu Dam, right? So you need to identify the beneficiaries and see how the dollar spent can be accounted for. For me, that's how I'll go about it.
Would you say that we can take off in the next, let's assume we're in 2024, in the next 2 to 4 years, do you think feasibly, practically, we could take off and complete that project?
Pwalugu,
And that means I'm taking you all the way to 2028.
You can, if a good structure is put in place and the revenue streams are identified, you can probably go to financial close in 2 years. And then probably just shop it for basically the construction, the tender, and all that. What we gave to the Chinese, I don't know what.
So when do you forecast it? All things being equal, if things went well, it could be done.
I don't have any powers to do those forecasting, or I've not seen all the documents.
No, and in this instance, I'm not asking you to forecast based on your role there. I'm asking you to speak as Kwadwo Poku. If you were looking through your crystal ball, Mr. Oracle.
I'm saying that you can structure that transaction and do a financial close in 2 years.
Okay.
So in 2 years, you can basically structure that conversation, get your partners on board, do financial close in 2 years. Then the rest is history. Just get a tendering documents in place and get somebody to bid and build.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because how many years has it taken since Pwalugu has been on the drawing board?
Well, my brother, as I said, when that document went to part, that's why I always blame, I always blame parliamentarians. I always blame, because that document, which was passed by Parliament, that document passed by Parliament was not fit for purpose.
Right. Let's quickly look at some other issues. So when can we expect, because we've been told a few things, I'm not sure exactly when the Baumia Manifesto will be ready, right? We've been told in a matter of months. Some have said May and all of that. When do you think your committee will be ready with an agenda, a plan, some of these very things we're talking about?
Well, it's a very straightforward conversation in my head for me. I think that it's going to be in two parts. Accounting to the people, one part. Because we've been in power for 8 years.
No, I'm asking of when.
No, I'm getting you there. So we need to look at what we put in the 2020 manifesto and gather information into accounting to the people on what we put in the 2020 manifesto and what has been done. I don't know how long that will take for the sector heads and to bring me that information when we meet at the committee. Then we look at the innovative ideas that would knock the boots off every Ghanaian. That one is the second phase. If we're able to now put all these things together, with consultation with stakeholders and all that, for me, if members are available and we are to get on with the work, 6 weeks we can basically finish our work.
6 weeks?
For me. I don't know about other people, and that is if all, because bear in mind, you have the big ministers advisor, you have and people go around the country doing other things, they are MPs as well. So getting everybody together in one place might be a challenge, but we hope everybody is committed like I am, and we'll be able to get everybody together and go at a very faster pace. And in 6 weeks, I think we can have something and present it to the Secretariat for them to look at.
Let's also take a stab at... And let me quickly get to this point. There are a few things I want to look at. Let me just get to this point. So I'm also looking at the cost of electricity for business. Yeah. Yesterday I had a rep, Tema chairperson of the GNCC, right here in the studio with me. It's killing them. How would you address that?
And you know, you had a
the vice president has said if the VAT 15% on electricity is applied, when he comes,
no, but it's not applied.
He said if,
but it's not.
No. But I'm stating what.
It's not.
No, but I'm stating what he said.
No, I know.
He said that even if, so you can't box me in for saying repeating what he said. He said that if it were applied,
yes,
when he came to power, if he came to power, he would take it off. That's what he said.
Yes, I know.
And all of that, I find it a bit, because you are under administration that is bringing it to bear.
No, but he spoke against it,
but I'm saying
it's not coming.
He spoke against it.
Yes, it's not coming.
Okay. Same way he spoke against the e-levy, right?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay, all right. Cost of electricity for businesses. How are you going to tackle that?
Okay, so basically what you have to understand is that there are two things I've said that we shouldn't do politics with. Electricity prices and petroleum prices, because you don't control the factors that goes into that. What you could do is basically make sure that Ghanaians are getting value for money. Ghanaians are getting good customer service, and Ghanaians are basically getting reliable and stable power. Those are the things that you as a government has to look out for. If the prevailing environment now dictates that prices come down, by all means it will come down. But I cannot come and talk about cheap electricity, because I don't control the price of electricity. I don't control the dollar. I don't control the gas. What I control is to make sure that you have stable, reliable electricity. You have good customer service when you call and something is wrong. And that's what Ghanaians really want. Right. I think the cost of, when you spoke to my big uncle, Mr. Mpianim, he made mention that we should look at the Akosombo and Pong, trying to reshape that for the industry. But then when you do that, you take that 3 cents per kilowatt hour from the basket and give it to industry, which, yes, it will be good for them, but then what are residential customers left with? We are left with the 8 cents to the 12 cents per kilowatt hour, which will be very expensive in terms of what we pay. So I think that we can, yes, look at some megawatts for the industry, but we can't take all of it out, because if not, the residential will pay a lot more.
All right. We have to go briefly. There are 2 things I'll run by you. The first one being, you're passionate about energy, right?
Very.
You want to serve in the energy sector.
I would love to.
I mean, that's basically
I
why.
don't want to.
That's basically why you're here.
But I would love to. So when you say want to, it's
the politics and getting on board. I thought we had cleared
the choice of words.
That's why you're here.
The choice of words. I said I would love to serve.
You would love to serve.
Yes.
Not just want. You would love to.
I would love to. Yes.
So let me ask you this: assuming your candidate, Dr. Bawumia, does not make it, and John Mahama becomes president, and he says, Kwadwo, come, I want you in the energy sector, whether it's the MPA or as minister or as whatever, would you take it up?
I would have to make that decision when that problem. It would never happen.
I thought you said you wanted to serve.
No. When that situation arrives, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But I know that we'll never get to that bridge, because my big brother Abuja.
So if we get to that bridge,
when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But I know that will never happen, because even in the NDC, former energy minister Mr. Boa, our good brother John Jenapo, John has been lacing his boots, and I talk to John a lot. And John will probably, in the NDC folds, he's probably one of the guys who is on top of his onions. I'm not.
You are going by.
What I'm saying is that when we get to that bridge,
if you were to get there and the person has overlooked,
we haven't got it
and all of that,
let's not
and the person says, "Come and serve."
Let's not be 2 kids who say that. Let's not be 2 kids.
All right. My final bit to you, since we're talking energy, I feel it's right we rope it in. Dr. Kwadwo Poku Prempeh for vice president. In fact, when you look at the front page of the Daily Graphic today, it talks about 2024 presidential election, who partners Bawumia. The pictures there, Dr. Kwadwo Poku Prempeh, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum. I will not share any thoughts on these gentlemen. I have my own, whatever, positives and negatives as far as they are concerned. But how do you feel about Napo?
He's my brother. His dad is my godfather. His dad and my dad went to the same school, the former Federation. So he's my godfather. His dad is my godfather. Napo is my direct brother. His mom is a Kufuor. And I'm also Kufuor. So we are both even on the same family page. So I feel very strongly that he's a good...
I'm sure you can overlook all of those and still make
I feel strongly that he's a good candidate. But guess what? The decision of a vice president is not anybody's making. It doesn't matter what I feel. It doesn't matter what anybody
The vice president, the neck...
What matters is no. It's not even neck. It is how strongly the vice president feels. And taking the Nanado Dankwa Akufo-Addo and His Excellency Nanado and Dr. Bawumia's situation, Nanado felt very strongly about Dr. Bawumia. So when he went to NEC, there were other candidates that NEC pushed, because at that time, guess what? They had to give a waiver, if you know that story. Now, so it is how the doctor, His Excellency Ahombrasiya Dr. Bawumia, feels about a candidate. It's not about what I think. So really and truly, this conversation of this person, that person, is really null and void. Let's wait till the day that the good Ahombrasiya gentleman wakes up and feel that, look, this person is going to... It could be you, Ben. You could say, look...
It could be me to do what?
It could be you to be vice president. It's possible.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I thought you were suggesting
it could be you to be vice president. It could be anybody to be vice president. So let's not... this thing where on social media, everybody is pushing that candidate, this candidate. I think all the names that have come up are good to serve. My brother Napo has served well, and he's been around, and he's basically come from a very reputable background in Ashanti region, and he ticks all the boxes that you need. And if he gets it, why not? We all support the 2 team, and we'll now make sure that we break the 8.
Any final words for us?
Yes. One of the things that Ghanaians watching us today should remember is that before Dr. Bawumia was elected as the flag bearer, one of the things that everybody said was that, one, business as usual, he's going to be a poodle, he's going to be basically a puppet of Nanado, he's going to basically continue. Now, all the things my big brother has done in the last month after his selection as flag bearer has shown that he's his own person. All the things my big brother, Dr. Bawumia, has done has shown that he has his own ideas, and he's coming with a brand new team that will rock the boots of this country. And everybody should come on board. It doesn't matter. The same way you are asking me if NDC should also come and join. There is nothing wrong with being a good opposition party.
Right.
There are countries where when you go, there's, the leading and the best opposition party in that country is this party. The NDC should accept that position. They should be the best leading opposition party in Ghana. Let us rule, keep us in check, and then we'll all win together.
Interestingly, that's not what our constitution says. And you know that political parties are set up. If you look at why they are set up and the purpose, you'd realize that they don't want to be the leading opposition. Thank you very much for coming through. But where is this Ahombrasier Hene coming from? It's new to me.
He's been installed. You've not. So you
oh, because I know
His
former
Excellency
president.
Dr. Bawumia was installed as Ahombrasier Hene.
By whom?
In the northern region.
Oh, that installment. That was the title they gave him.
Yes, Ahombrasier Hene.
Oh, I see.
So now he's now part of his name. Dr. Ahombrasier Hene Mahmoud Bawumia.
Wow.
That's his title.
Oh,
and it shows. And you see, now I came, you see, it's rubbed
It does, huh?
It's rubbed off on me.
I think I remember when he went and lay prostrate on the floor.
Look,
he was prostrate on the floor before
that. It's even rubbed off on me. And you can't see when I came in my humility that I've come into the studio with.
Just I told you so. Kwadwo Poku, thank you for coming.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
He's
Thank you.
an energy analyst joining the conversation this morning, and he is going to helm the Manifesto committee when it comes to energy, as far as the Bawumia campaign is concerned. But from one political